Hello, and welcome to the Global Luxury Real Estate Mastermind with me, your host, Michael Valdes. Today's guest is such a wonderful spirit. I am so excited to have a conversation with this amazing, amazing leader in our industry. Dr. Ananta Singh is the Senior Executive Director of Experion Developers. Dr. Ananta, I am so happy to see you again. Welcome to the show.
Michael, the pleasure is all mine, and my best wishes to all your viewers from New Delhi to New York, straight from the heart.
Oh my God, I love that. That just became the title of our podcast, From New Delhi to New York, straight from the heart.
Yeah.
Now, it has been, oh my God, it's probably been a year since we've last spoken. But my goodness, I am so excited to delve into this conversation, into your history. You have over 3 decades of premier real estate experience. But for the sake of our global audience that may not know your wonderful accomplishments, can you just, like very briefly, just tell us a little bit about how you got started in real estate?
Oh, how I got started?
Yeah.
Well, it was in June 91, Michael. That's about 30 years back. And at that time, women in real estate were almost like camels in Alaska or penguins in the far deserts. So that's how it was. And yes, but what attracted me was I was young, I was 21 and armed with a gold medal in marketing, stars in my eyes, and very ambitious. And I said, if I have to do marketing, I love meeting people. Let me pick up the most expensive and most, intensive, and capital intensive purchase for everybody. And I said, what is it that is the most expensive? And it's always reality, as you know.
That's right.
So real estate is right up there. So I said, okay, so I want to do real estate. And okay, if I want to do real estate, where do I go? And at that time, the most professional organization and one of the largest at that time and most upcoming organization was DLF. And they had the prettiest office, like your Manhattan buildings. So I said,
always important. A pretty office is important.
That gives bragging rights in front of college friends. Also, I worked there, So British Airways, Nestle, and of course DLF. And
there you go.
So I said, yeah. So that was my reason for joining real estate at that time. And once you join, you can never leave real estate. It's something which gets you drunk. It's so beautiful. Yeah.
Now, you alluded to something, and it was really you've held senior leadership positions in some of the most prestigious real estate development companies in the world. And you alluded to something that it was you as a female leader in the industry. It's an industry that's really dominated by men, especially in the area in which you excel. So tell me a little bit about that journey, because what you have led in that regard has been extraordinary.
Thank you so much. So, Michael, actually, initially when you start out, maybe there may be some kind of gender bias, or there may be something going on in the minds of a few men, not all, but a few men, because they're so used to seeing women in either glamorous roles or back-end roles, So it's if it's reception or GRE or, customer services or telesales, it's one thing. But when you're a thinking, intelligent mind, arguing, talking, it takes a while for people to accept that. That's one part of it. The second part of it is that, like you said, the part of the world that I come from in India, and we belong to a community which is called Rajputs. They are warriors. So it's a patriarchal society, and the men are very open as far as education is concerned, but they are very protective and possessive about their women, So it comes out of care. But that sheltering instinct is very strong. And fathers have it, grandfathers have it. They want you to be happy, but at the same time, they're very concerned about everything that you do. So that's another part that you have to deal with. But once you are there in your organization, believe me, it doesn't take more than 5 minutes to make sure that nobody is looking at you as though you were a man or a woman.
Yes.
Ultimately, it is your focus, it's your knowledge, it's your professionalism, your integrity, it's your personality, the decisions that you take. And in the end, I realized that, everybody respects you and everybody supports you. And in real estate, it's not as though I've been competing with women. There were hardly any women. I wasn't competing with women. I was competing with men. Yes. So if you're competing with men, then you have to actually see what is it that is missing in you if you want to be in the race and if you want to be on top of the race. So, when I started working at 21, so I had to make sure that when it came to qualifications, I should not be equal. I should be one step ahead. Wow. So I did my master's in management, education, literature, music, and then my PhD, all of that along with my job, because I was so fond of my job. I didn't want to leave that, but I was so fond of winning and growing also. So I didn't want to leave that. So that meant extra work.
Of course.
On weekends. And when you want everything, you want to be a mother, you want to be a good mother. So then that is like a full-time responsibility also. So you have to balance things out. Socializing took a little backseat for a certain period, and even in the industry, they used to say, when we are walking in is when she's walking out.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Whether it was award functions or it was events or whatever, So they said, when the party starts, and she's already, it's time for her to go. They said, you lost your slipper or something. I said, no.
No, it is so amazing what you have accomplished. I call myself the smartest man because I look at my team, and 90% of my team are women, as you know, and they're all and it's extraordinary, really, that sort of like team. But it's also extraordinary what you've done, because now that you arrived, you made sure that mentorship and that door was open for other leaders that you helped inspire. Tell me a little bit about that journey, because you really did pave an amazing path for so many other people that came behind you.
Yes. So, Michael, it is really very, very dear to my heart. I just feel that somewhere I was privileged because, probably, my grandfathers, one great grandfather also, one was a doctor, another one was an engineer, then my grandfather, engineer and a cop, and my father from the army. So maybe I was privileged in the sense that, I could do whatever I wanted in my life. But when I saw around me, I realized that there were two things which were kind of holding back women from coming in front. One was a certain prejudice towards the industry itself. And, and the second was because they just felt that probably this is too tough for somebody to, kind of get into. It's a very male-dominated industry. And the second part was the qualification or the EQ or the, things like that to deal with that thing. So that was two things. And both I felt could be fixed just with talking and helping and reaching out. And so wherever I got an opportunity, I really enjoyed doing that. So currently the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs in India, under the Government of India, they have started this called Niredko Mahi. Mahi means the earth. It's also the name of a river in Western India. And so they've started this women's wing in real estate. This to help entrepreneurs, help women achieve their dreams. And they've made me the first founder president-elect of that. So I'm really loving this. Yeah. So, so this is something which, and it gives me an opportunity to kind of help women all over India. So, we've got a lovely team which is working on it and helping everybody. So this is like something very nice and close to my heart. there's another institution called She Connects, which is not just limited to real estate. It's you could be fond of, you could be a designer, you could be an interior decorator, you could be a great chef, you could be anything. And, I help those women and kind of establishing their business, the 3,000 of them, and encouraging them, motivating them, talking to them, ironing things out for them so that they can just work from home and do so much, whether it's supplying meals or cakes or whatever is your passion, or embroidery, whatever. So that's She Connects. And the third thing that, during the pandemic kept me very excited and busy is something called Indie Village. There are these rural executives who are in the remotest parts of India. They have the knowledge. They're very good in STEM, science, maths, and everything. But the soft skills, the language skills, those are lacking. So I mentor them on Saturdays, 1 hour through this Indie Village thing. And those rural executives then can stand up next to the urban population, and they don't get left back in the race just because they are, let's say, awkward, for the urban population. So that's another thing that I'm doing. And I love all of that, but I still feel I could do much more.
When? It's amazing. It's like your efforts are extraordinary. One of the things that I love about you so much is that even you that's achieved so much in your career, you always make sure that you're giving back. And we're going to touch upon that a little bit later in this interview. But I also want to talk to you about marketing, right? You have a PhD in marketing. And, when we talk about marketing, especially in our industry, I think it is one of the most homogenized terms when people just sort of say, yeah, marketing is so important. What is marketing, right? And when we start thinking about that, I would love, because of the audience that's very much in different aspects of the real estate industry, what would you say would be the most important aspect in marketing for someone?
Michael, I think your intuitive abilities really amaze me sometimes, So this is like one question which has two things into it, and the two match so perfectly for me. That's the answer. So I did my PhD in a topic which was adaptability and intelligent growth in fluctuating cyclic markets. So it was like a septidal analysis. And, there were comparisons between urban and rural real estate, micro markets and, rural markets and a hell of a lot of things. But the gist of it was VUCA, which is volatility, complexity and adaptability and, all of that. So the whole crux is that if you have understood the marketplace, marketing wins over volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. It is corporate warfare. Ultimately, it is corporate warfare, no matter how big or small your business is. And if you are on top of these three, VUCA, it's an American term.
I love this. I love that you did your PhD on this. This is amazing. Come on.
The minute you've mastered these four alphabets, you are a king, you are a winner, and you will not let anyone stand next to you. So this is where it, kind of boils down. And I think, even the PhD could not do justice to it because it's such a deep subject, ultimately. And I'm learning every day. And marketing is evolving all the time, Even last year, I enrolled in this executive education program. Again, I told you I learn a lot from the West, so I enrolled in this, executive education program at MIT on digital marketing and social media analytics. And I was like, my God, I knew so little, at the end of it.
I find that very hard to believe, actually.
Yeah. But it's like I had to stay up all night and everybody used to be bright and smiling and I had my coffee mug and the professor used to tell me, where are you? I said, in India. Check the map. Check the time.
Oh my God, I love that. Oh my God, that's precious. That's awesome.
Yes, I said, for me, it is a pajama party. Very bright and alert.
That's right. That's right. Oh my God.
I really love
I'm
that.
starting my day and you're ending yours right now. So this is check the map indeed. It's different times.
Yes. So you have to keep learning all the time.
Absolutely.
Otherwise you're not earning.
That's right. Learning is earning, isn't it? Yes, I love that. And okay, so now I also love the statement, marketing always wins. And that is so amazing. But now let's talk about the fact that you have had senior leadership positions at some of the most prestigious developers in the world. And so when you start looking at this and bringing that on this conversation that we're just having with marketing, how would you look at the value proposition in each of these companies, and then the differentiation of that value proposition in the marketplace? How do you actually look at that dilemma and say, DLF is different from Damak, it's different from Amir? How do you actually differentiate that value prop in the marketplace?
Right. So Michael, as the executive director for DLF, I had about 68 products spread across 20 Indian cities. And in India, India. So every 100 kilometers, the food, the clothes, the language, everything changes. And, so it's like many countries into one big country. The cultures change, everything changes. And so also the way people live, the way people work, all of that. So as far as the value proposition is concerned, some places people like low-rise, sprawling lawns. Other places people like congregating spaces, small apartments, easy to maintain. Other places they want farmhouses to live in. Similarly, the shopping centers also and the workplaces also. So some places I was selling commercial offices, some places we were leasing it, and same with the shopping centers also, somewhere you needed anchor stores and more of food courts, children's things. Other places you just needed luxury stores and, we only wanted LV and Dior. And so it was so different everywhere. And therefore the value proposition was different. The TG was different. And of course, at that time, unfortunately, we didn't have U and EXP. Otherwise, my job would have been very easy. I just had to outsource and act boss, but I couldn't do that. I had to go and dirty my hands in the mud and work. As far as EMAR and DMAC are concerned, Michael, it kind of opened up my mind to international business development because I was at the right place at the right time when I was the CE for EMAR. And, EMAR was in India. So we were selling the brand EMAR MGF here in India, in some of the top cities. And also the Indians who wanted to buy there, we were referring them also from here to there. So it was a cross-selling thing which was happening. And in the process, we were learning the most. And of course, international best practices. And the world has not changed or developed at that speed, the speed at which it has developed in Dubai or in Abu Dhabi or UAE, the way it has happened there, it has not happened anywhere. So being part of that transformational journey taught me a lot, actually, and it helped me a lot. And same with the DMAC also. And in fact, there are areas in India from where DMAC had a steady inflow of buyers, take election season, no election season. People just love having a second home there. And then it's 2 to 3 hours flight from India. Yes. So that also kind of changes things. It's like you have your own holiday home. And then, So it was a lot of fun.
That audience. Yeah.
Yes. So right from somebody looking at affordable housing to someone looking at uber luxury, each one had a different flavor and then different handling and different representation. The pitch was different altogether.
So it's understanding who the audience is and then how you speak to it.
Yes, absolutely. That game, you are a master of that game, Michael. I could learn a little bit from you.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think it's quite the opposite, but I've never done a TED Talk, but we're coming to that in a second. Okay. So tell me, what would be your 3 pieces of advice that you would give somebody entering our industry today?
3 pieces of advice to somebody entering this, okay? 3 of them. One is, if you are really passionate about real estate, there's nothing like me time. There's no me time. It's all hardworking honeybee time.
Yes.
Because, the customer is king. Somebody is coming with dreams when they are available at their convenience, at the right time, right mood. Family decisions, friends are involved, influencers are involved. So, if you really want to be in real estate, then there's nothing like a me time. It's you have to love what you do with that kind of passion, only then. And the second thing is, if you don't have, the knowledge, the market knowledge, not just yours, but competitors and everybody. And you should also know, if you're a channel partner or an agent, you must know what the other agent is doing also. Right. So that's competitive intelligence and knowledge and that efficiency is really required, So it's almost like that Israeli dome.
Yes.
You have to be very, very competitive and sharpen the axe. Otherwise, Absolutely. You can't do anything with the tree.
Yes.
So that's more than 3.
I love that. This is great. All right, now I want to go back to the TED Talk that you did. You did a TEDx talk, and it was extraordinary. You and I have spoken about that many times on that TEDx talk. And in fact, some of the wonderful things that you said, I actually used against you. Remember when I was trying to convince you of something? Tell me about that amazing experience of doing a TED Talk.
Michael, when I did the TED Talk, I really didn't know, how big or important or prestigious a TED Talk is.
Really? Wow. Okay.
I was in a very high pressure job. I was running from one city to the other, doing a hell of a lot of crisis management at that time. My mother was very unwell at that time, and she was undergoing treatment. So I was a little disturbed with that as well. And then, my son told me, he said, so what have you decided about that invitation? You have to reply to them in the next 24 hours. So I said, I'm not sure. And all. He says, you are very sure you're going for it. So what's the topic? So I said, it was on leadership and edge of a precipice. So I said, I haven't even thought about it. He says, you don't have to. Edge of a precipice. You have to go for it. You only have to talk for 18 minutes. Speak from the heart. I was like, all right. And another thing which was holding me back was it was out of town. So I had to drive out of town, into Rajasthan. It was in a ancient city called Nimrana, in Rajasthan. And so it was a little kind of, out of the way. It wasn't like, okay, fine. And then there was, I can never say no to one man in my life, and that's my son.
Yeah.
Man, baby, whatever.
He's 24. He's not a baby.
He's 24. Yeah. And he's right there in New York. Yeah. He says, I'm an Indian man with an American soul. So I'm saying, okay, fine. So he's been there for 7 years now. So when he said, you have to say yes, I said yes. So I went for it. And it was such a beautiful and awesome experience. I must share that, because those 18 minutes, really on the way, I thought about it when I was driving from Delhi to Nimrana, and edge of a precipice, leadership. And I just spoke from my heart, and I just spoke about my experiences. But I can promise you my next TED Talk will be better than the last one. This time I know what it's about. That last one was
very inspiring. So
now I know how important it is. At that time, I did.
You are really funny. I want to talk about something that is really your heart, which is amazing. And I know you're very humble. So I actually am the one that's asking you this question. Your philanthropic efforts are just amazing. So about just really giving a platform for those really efforts that you are doing so that others can find out about Deep Foundation, I know, and Vision Spring and other things that you're working on. Would you just share with the audience a little bit about that, please?
Yes, certainly, Michael. So, Michael, Deep Foundation is something that a friend of mine started out, Sujata and Sandeep Suri, both of them started that out. And what really touched me is that, for as little as $10, a family of 5 for 10 days can have food in the slums. There are kids who are starving out there, and they give them a little rice, lentil, and some pickle and maybe curd and everything. But for as little as $10, a family of 5 for 10 days doesn't have to worry about their food. And during the pandemic, it was so important to help these people out because they lost their jobs and the children didn't know what to do, where to go when the parents have nothing to do. And it was very sad. And there was so much domestic violence going on and all. And my friends were doing all this. So I try to help them as and when, in whichever way I can. So that's about Deep Foundation. Another area which really touches my life is something called Caregivers Foundation. That is something which a gentleman called Mr. Ravi Kalra started out. He hasn't been to college. He hasn't studied very much, but he's created such a big organization. The elderly people who are abandoned by their families because they are too old or too sick or too helpless. He takes them into this home and he cares for them and he looks after them. And and some of them are educated. He gives them work in the foundation itself so that they have meaningful lives and they can live with dignity. Yeah. That's another area which is very close to my heart. But then there is something called Gunj, which is like your Salvation Army kind of a thing, but it's started by a gentleman who left a very good corporate job and they kind of take in donations as in material donations, a lot of that, and then they refurbish it, dry clean it, wash it, and help out people who've been affected by cyclones or earthquakes or things like that. And they rush those things to them and they help them with that. And last, of course, Dr. Jordan Kasselov. I met him here in New Delhi, and we were in a conference at the Taj Mahal Hotel in Delhi many years back. And I was so touched by the story he said about a little boy in Mexico. His father thought he was blind, that boy. But the minute Dr. Jordan put glasses on his eyes, just random glasses, he could read, he could see, his world changed. And that expression on the boy's face and the father's face, like some magic has happened. And, that triggered Vision Spring that, okay, fine, I'll do my business in New York City and I'll have those, the Devil Wears Prada and everything for those who want to wear it. But for those, who are so helpless, and he and his team are doing such fantastic work all over India. I haven't been able to help them much because all that needs time. But I do try to promote as much as I can. And like you said, tell people about it so that others who are in a position to help can help them out. These are 4 organizations who I feel, sometimes even we as donors are unsure, where should we donate? Is it going to be misused? Is it, what is going to happen? But where you are so sure, there I think one should do it. In fact, Deep Foundation, my son told me about this because he used to go and read stories to these little slum kids, when he was here in school. And then the way the children are children, they're so innocent, helpless, and affectionate, and all they need is attention and love, and they can sense that. Yeah. And so these are the 4 organizations which are very close to my heart. I'm very ashamed of myself that I don't do enough. I need to do a lot more. And, after hearing Dr. Jordan's story, I actually started finding all the hoarding of all these clothes and luxury shoes and bags and everything. I started finding it so repulsive because it suddenly made you feel that, this could have been put to better use. I mean? You feel guilty.
No,
it's such a huge gap between the haves and the have-nots. It's just so unfair, but there comes a time when you realize, and it's never too late. And
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, we're also going to put all of those organizations and their websites on my website when this airs, so that people can find out more about it. No, thank you for what you're doing. So tell me, Ananta, what is the greatest lesson you've learned thus far?
Okay, so you are talking to a lady in New Delhi, India, and a lot of people in your country don't know where India is and where New Delhi is, though we all know where New York is. So I'm going to speak in Sanskrit and then I'll translate it for you.
Right. Go on then.
So, the lesson is that it's karmanya vadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachanam. Which means that while you must have your eyes on the goal, but you must be holding, you should be focusing on the action required, not the goal. So you know the goal, but you don't focus on the goal, you focus on the action. What is the strategy? You will reach your goal eventually, or you may not reach your goal eventually, but if your strategy is right, the action. So focus always on the action. So, okay, fine, I want to be a CEO. So to be a CEO, what is the action that you need to do? What personality traits do you need for that? What are your rough edges? What qualification? What education? What kind of a team? How are you going to build it? How are you going to be better than the person already in the chair, or whatever it takes? I don't know. Or are you thinking of moving out somewhere and then being that? So action, focus on the action. Know the goal, but focus on the action. If you focus too much on the goal, you are always unhappy. If you're focusing on the action, you're always motivated and excited. That's what I've learned.
I love that. It's always about having the plan, right? Because without the map, how do you know when you arrive?
Yeah. And you are one person who has followed this Gita Updesh. It's called Gita Updesh. This is what Lord Krishna told to Arjun on the battlefield of Mahabharata. Mahabharata are epic, And this is what he said, and you have achieved it. I remember meeting you last year. You've broken all your records, all your targets. Pandemic didn't hold you back, Michael. I'm amazed. I see your posts on LinkedIn and I'm like, ooh, I'm not doing enough. I better pull up my socks.
Please, the bar that you've set, I could never get to. But thank you for the kind words. I have one final question for you, and I love asking my guests this, and especially you. And in your book of life, what is this chapter called?
Oh my God, I have the handsome Michael sitting in front of me and asking me chapter. Okay. Michael, I would call it metanoia. It's a complete change, a transformational change in my life, I think, which has happened in the last 2 years.
Really?
One was, of course, the pandemic.
Yeah.
The second was, I kind of lost my mother, to cancer. Yeah. So a lot of things kind of changed in my life. And so spirit, mind, and body, all three, it's actually been metanoia for me. It's a completely new me. So the first 50 years of my life and the subsequent 2 years of my life the next 2 years have been a complete churn in the ocean. We have this thing, when the Indian Ocean, Himalayas and mountains were put into the Indian Ocean to churn the ocean, because they said at the bottom of the ocean is nectar, which makes you immortal. But when they were churning the ocean, what came out and kept coming out was first poison. And we have a God who's like all blue and black. He had to be called from the Himalayas to take it all in. Otherwise, humanity would have been wiped out. So life has been a little bit like that, because the churning of the ocean was going on, a lot of changes in my immediate environment. And also, internally they impact you and affect you. And then to stay above all of that and still be yourself, I think that's what it is for me.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you are such an incredible inspiration, Ananta. You are such an amazing human being. I love every single time that I get to speak with you. I always have a full heart and a great smile because that's what you bring. Your spirit is infectious. What you have accomplished is amazing. You are such a leader and a mentor in our industry. And I am so thankful for you for this conversation. This has been lovely.
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you for inviting me here. I wish you all the best. Have a beautiful vacation. And God bless you always.
Thank you so much. And thank you all of you for listening. This has been the Global Luxury Real Estate Mastermind with me, your host, Michael Valdes.